everyone, Jess here at Aviation Festival Asia. Today I'm joined with Kenny Chang, EVP and CMO of Korean Air. Thank you for joining me, Kenny.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So starting off, how are you embracing global awareness of South Korean culture to grow your brand internationally?
I think it's a very important part of our strategy because Korean Air outside of Asia is not a household name per se. So in North America, especially in Europe, I think the K culture, especially K-pop, K-food, K-drama, um, helps us to reach the audience that we've never been able to do on our own. So, for example, when I go to Europe and try to check in, I think 5 years ago, they would ask me if I was just different ethnically. Now, first the question they ask is, I'm Korean. So this is a lot. Now, how do I bring that into the strategy is very important because Korean Air being a very Asian-specific based airline, we need to ensure we touch customers that are interested in coming in to experience the culture. So we try to look at data points in terms of their age, their gender, their preferences, their popularities, their spending patterns, and stuff like that. And especially the business versus leisure. So we try to use. I think the personalization is overly used word. So what we try to do is we try to understand that person as a person and provide a awareness so that they can make a decision their best knowledge possible.
That's really interesting. And do you find that there's a sort of age range that is more aware of this K culture? Is there a generational aspect to that?
There is. You know, the funny thing is Asia. So I think every region, every ethnic group has different cultures and expectations. For example, in Asia, especially in Korea, where even the home of K culture, most of the population over 40 really don't understand K culture, meaning K-pop per se. But if you go outside of Korea, even grandparents to someone at the age of 7 phenomenally have different aspects of K culture, especially K-pop. So when we look at from a marketing perspective and a brand awareness perspective, we look at regions, look at ethnic groups, then we look at the age groups to target them differently. But we have to have a different strategy within Korea, within Asia, and outside of Asia. So the perception is different, but it's actually we're having a lot of fun trying to understand it.
Good. And just building on from that, in what ways do you tailor your marketing to engage with the younger generation specifically?
So I think we as an airline always had the pleasure of falling back on things heavily regulated. So they really have to innovate, meaning I think pre-pandemic we're still the majority of the marketing and advertising were done through traditionally like TVs or billboards, magazines. But I think during the pandemic, everyone realized that digitalization is happening very quickly. So luckily, we as a Korean Air started our digital transformation way before, starting in 2017. So we're trying to understand the younger generation through social channels by default. But other than that, we're using a lot of our NPS to target the younger generation who flow with us. And then we try to look at the geographical data sets and their traffic patterns using the third-party data. So by default, the best way to reach out to them is directly through social channels. And that's one-way communication. You don't have to understand what they're trying to do is. It's like I said, we're mixing in different sets of digital assets like NPS, the third-party generation data, and also all the social channel listening data to see how we're doing in terms of not only the airline but country, because Korean Air is part of Korea, which is home of K culture.
Fantastic. And then moving slightly away from that topic, could you describe how you're optimizing operations and improving the customer experience through the use of cloud?
Yeah, it's a very long story, but in a short term or in a very short sentence, we're just trying to align with our CEO strategy. He had a vision of becoming the most loved airline in the world. And when you look at it, it's very easy to say if the customer loves us, then they can love the airline. But who services the customer? It's the employees. So we have this internal and external vision of trying to transform our digital experiences so that they can align together. So what we say is happy employees equal happy customers. So in order to do so, we needed to understand what our IT digital landscape was. And we realized it was just too old, it was too legacy. Not being able to provide mobile approval system to our employees, it just didn't coexist with our vision. So when the CEO made a bold statement, we, as in each divisional leaders, came up with our own strategy to support that strategy and vision, and came up with internal and external, which coexist in their layer being a vehicle and powered by digitalization. So the cloud strategy became because of it.
Fantastic. And sticking with this sort of tech theme, where do you see generative AI like ChatGPT making the biggest difference in the industry? So sort of how can it be used and to what end?
Oh, I think it's next to cloud. I think the public cloud transformation brought a lot of opportunities for companies like us to digitalize and transform very quickly, which helped to transform the company culture and give us the mindset to think from a customer perspective. We're using the same solution, same digitalization approaches. Now, beyond that, because of the AI and ChatGPTs, it's actually adding another layer of service excellence that we as a Korean Air always take pride in. For example, call center operations is a very expensive piece of component that we have from our operational costs. But if you look at it, just because AI can just say, hey, I can route you to ABC based on your number, your loyalty number, that's not what customers are looking for. Customers really want to have their questions answered very quickly. But us as a Korean Air supporting 18 different languages with accents. For example, one Korean has probably like 20 different accents everywhere. So trying to understand that and provide the most accurate possible answers so that they're satisfied with the first attempt is very crucial. So I think, GPT chats like AI solutions like those, and along with other AI capabilities, will definitely enhance not only the operations efficiency, cost reduction, but it actually will bring a different layer of customer satisfaction into the industry.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of what you said sort of goes in parallel with the idea of personalization and how much that's desired by passengers at the moment. So feeling understood and having answers tailored to you rather than feeling like you're just speaking to a machine that's just like batting off these.
Yeah, that's so personalization, I guess, as well as I think it's too widely used word. But one thing that we as a marketer always forget is that sometimes we attempt them too many times. Meaning, first attempt is great, but if they're not interested, we need to understand that what caused them not to be interested. Is it because it's not within their relevant timeline, or is it not in their favorite destination, or it's not within the price range? Well, we as a marketer really never looked at data sets like that. Now with the cloud transformations and digitalization, you can collect those data sets more. So we don't want to overwhelm them. For example, I think NPS, if we reach out to the customer and they respond back, or even if they don't respond back, we quarantine them for 6 months so that we're not asking them certain questions, even though they may have flown once. So we try the personalization the best as we can, but with minimal intents if possible, because we don't want them to feel like Korean Air is sending another level of message that are relevant to them. So we use the data sets a lot more now than ever before. So I think our personalization strategy, we call it tailor-made strategy, is a little bit different. We're a bit slower in terms of rolling it out, but we want to roll it out more accurately so that we try to understand you the first time or at least the second time.
Wonderful. Thank you for elaborating on that. So finally now, how do you capitalize on the agility that a digital marketing strategy can offer?
I think uh, it's a new paradigm in how the marketing is being done. Not because of the generation, but I think ever since Apple, Steve Jobs released a tablet-based, phone-based, everything went one device, iPhone back in 2008 just changed entirely.
Yeah.
And I think we as marketers have a very easy fallback by saying, oh, I don't need to go digital. I can always go traditional ways, still use the TV commercial, which still works. But if you look at the data facts, I think in a single family, turning away from the traditional TV percentages have switched. Like, you overturned like all the way back in like 2011, 2013. So we as a marketers really need to understand um, how the experience of digital can happen. So like I said, I don't want to overwhelm them. I wanted to make sure my brand is something that they consider.
Yeah.
So it goes back ties with the K culture, right? If I can leverage and reach out to someone who's never tried Korean Air, but heard of Korean Air because of K culture, and they want to experience K culture, that's a level of intimacy I want to understand. But I do not want to do the same thing for a little customer who flies 8 times a year versus those who have never flown or those who have flown every 454 days, which is an average, days of flight cycles.
That's really interesting. That's great. And then just before I let you go, what do you enjoy about coming to Aviation Festival Asia?
I think Aviation Festival Asia is a great way for someone like me who's always on the road, who is trying to not only work on trying to improve or help to improve the industry, but we have an operations team. So it's almost like a coffee break in a way, right? You will have an 8-hour work, and then you have that 10-minute coffee break where you really enjoy and get to other things. So I think Aviation Festival not only provides the intelligence, but provides the potential partner ecosystems where I can not only just take a time to understand that, but just having conversations with peers and potential partners, I learned a lot from it. So it is actually an open platform, non-IT platform, but communication platform where I can understand the things that I need to do better. I need to add to my strategy, or something that I could just say you could ignore but just a conversation and try to really understand what is really happening. So it brings the aviation. I call this a platform of aviation. Okay, so I think it's a great forum for everyone at any level to enjoy. We have a lot of employees from Korean Air here. They have a smile on their face because they step away from the office, but they're learning a lot more by just being here.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you.